Hey there, everybody. Welcome back to the Teacher's Lounge. Welcome to 2019.
Woo!
It's back after another 3 long weeks of Force of Will and the start of a brand new year with your favorites Force of Will podcast with myself, DMO73, Jeremy Franklin. As always, I'm joined by Ryan Miles, rocking a stunning beard.
I've turned into a grizzly old man without Force of Will in my life. It's been too long.
Brandan Bremont over here on my left.
With clean-shaven chins.
And
But
Frank
still
Foster
cute.
up above.
Ageless and unchanging.
Ageless and unchanging. We are so glad to be back. I'm going to drop a little cool things here just real quick. If you guys like what we're doing on the channel and you want to support us, there's some of the cool things we're doing. And we just launched channel memberships. So if you're watching on the gaming YouTube site, which you hopefully are, there should be a link down about that way that shows a button that says join. It's a way to support the channel. It's $5 a month and you get your name in the credits. You get a special badge on your YouTube channel name. You get to submit 2 deck listed channels of the year, and you get to use all these cool emojis that I just put up in the Force of Will chat.
What?
Super exclusive access just for members. So if you guys
Hold
want
on,
to jump in
how
on
do you
that,
do
support the
this?
channel.
I'm about to do it right now, actually. $5 a month for cool emojis to spam people with. 100% doing that.
So just go to
For real.
gaming.youtube.com/DMO73 and you'll see that join button there. Look, we've already got somebody spamming some foul flicks with Keurig. Foul flicks. So
I've had too
today,
much Keurig.
and we'll be able to switch up those emojis as we do, and the more members we have, the more emojis we can unlock. So there's some examples for you there. So welcome 2019, guys. How was your holiday?
Was good.
That was good.
Fantastic.
Holiday part was good.
I got to play in a Wanderer tournament last weekend. That was pretty fun.
How did you enjoy nothing but Hanzo Gretel's?
It was, yeah, like, so I brought me and my brother, my friend Brandon, and we all played Hanzo. And then I told Nate Centenary, who runs the store down there, about the deck like 2 weeks ago. And then a kid didn't think he'd be playing because he runs the store and was going to run the event. But he told all of his friends. So every single person that showed up to the event either got the list from like me talking about it or from Nate like playtesting it. So we just all played Hanzo. And I was like, no.
Did nobody play
I shouldn't have
Broodhill?
told anybody.
Nobody
Nobody
played
played
Broodhill?
Broodhill. There was like 8 Hanzos and 1 Lucifer, and it's like 9-man event. I think no, it was 8 Lucifer or 8 Hanzo, 1 Lucifer, 1 Imol. I'm pretty sure that was the spread.
That's
I
really
think I
funny.
got 5th. I just lost 2 Hanzo mirrors, and I was like, yeah, that happens. What do you do?
Hanzo mirrors happen, boys.
Yeah.
So awesome. I just was chill. I didn't really do anything crazy. Just finished ruler school, Force of Will 101. That was my big project. So
Hey, congrats on that. Looks
Yeah, I'm
thanks.
pretty happy about that. I've been telling people about it.
yeah, huge thanks
Yeah, man.
to Mike Rance and Colin for all their support and work on that. They did some pretty good videos for the series too. So yeah, now we're back talking Force of Will. Got some more spoilers. Got the new set coming out.
Yeah, my understanding is we're going to get the full spoiler this Wednesday or Thursday, right? So
I think
that's pretty
probably
hyped.
Wednesday. Yeah. Well, a new member, Lol Zay. I wonder who that is. Ryan Miles.
Whoa.
Thanks for joining. Thanks for being a member of the channel, buddy.
No problem, man. When I
Now
get my
you know what?
name
I
in the
think
credits,
actually,
how else am
I think
gonna
that
become
actually
famous?
I think that actually unlocks me being able to do a new emoji. So, what ruler would you like the new emoji to be? I'll give you that power.
Ooh, reflector frame.
I can do what was ever on the Force of Will Battle Simulator and the chibi stuff that Malaysia did for us.
UCL.
Do you have Hanzo yet? I love
I
Hanzo.
think I have Hanzo. If I have
All
Hanzo,
right.
I'll do a Hanzo, and it'll be Foul Ryan. That'll be that meme.
Not to
All
derail
right.
us too much, why are you chewing on a syringe?
I don't know.
Never just have
It's a
syringes
medicine.
lying around.
It's a
It's like,
medicine syringe for when my daughter was sick. I gave her some medicine down here the other day, and now it's just sitting down here. So, let's talk shop. Let's stop being me and let's do stuff. Specifically, I want to talk about our general thoughts about the spoilers so far and our thoughts about this set. I don't want to talk about the ban list because we talked up a storm about that time last time, but really I just want to talk about general impressions about what's been coming out, what you're excited about to try around, goof around with, what's been your favorite color so far, that kind of stuff. So, general thoughts, Brandon?
Powerful mid-range options, I think, is like the sentence that summarizes this set.
I would agree.
There is power in the 4-mana, 5-mana, 3-mana slot, and really nothing else. And I know we just said we weren't going to talk about the ban list, but like the problem with the format right now is that mid-range is extremely punished by distortion of time.
Sure.
And so if either that deck gets punished by Ryan's quick cast Hanzo deck enough that it stops being good, or distortion or some element gets banned, or something happens that pushes Witch into not being the position it is right now, then I'm very excited to see 4 and 5 drop spells resolve, and I think that power exists in this set to push that into being good, especially in white, especially in black. And I'm excited to see how that shakes things up. Force Will really has not seen a mid-range format, at least since I've been playing. The closest thing we've gotten, I guess, is like Scheherazade was kind of a mid-range deck, but it was also just the best at everything. Lumia Hook ended up being more of a combo deck than a mid-range deck. And so really we have not seen a pure mid-range deck, and I'm excited to see that as a possibility.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see. Again, we said we wouldn't talk about the ban list, but I'll say this: I'm really excited to see what blue might exist, like what blue might become if Distortion's gone. Specifically, looking at all these new machines, and I actually got to write the spoiler article for Gwyn, for Guinevere, so I got to see those cards for a few days before everybody else did, and like, there's something about the way they designed Gwyn and the Master Rune that just makes me like think like blue is weirdly becoming tempo again, but at the same time of like, if you don't answer machines going wide, they're going to kill you 72 different ways. And like that to me is really cool that they're taking the machine outlet, what it is now, rather than all in on Lancelot, is now like, oh, actually we just have counters, and we can use the counters in a bunch of different ways. So I really like how they've evolved machines in that way, that it's not just build as many counters as possible for Lance. Now it's build as many counters as possible, use them for Skynet, use them for, you know, reactive to buff up Guinevere some more, use it for Vivian, use it for making a Camelot, use it for making Lancelot. Like, there's a lot of different things you can use it for now. And so if blue gets to explore that identity without having to worry about, oh, we're blue, so play Distortion, like, I think that will actually be really cool to goof around with.
So that to me, like, and this comes from a Magic background, that doesn't really sound so much like a tempo deck, as that sounds like a very, like, an aggressive deck that's very, like, this is going to go back to a similar thing in Magic, machines. But like, a lot of this reminds me of like sort of the type of gameplay you do with Affinity in Magic, where the deck is inherently just an aggressive deck. You're playing out a lot of your hand very quickly. You're trying to build this very big board state, but unlike a lot of decks that do that, because you have these sort of flexible resources, you can react to, like, you know, like Guinevere, like, oh, if they start like pinging off a couple of your dudes, just like eat them up, and now Guinevere is bigger, and you've made it to where your opponent's removal has only become partial removal, and right. It's like, it's a very cool direction for it to go in.
Walk that back, fam, or we're gonna have worlds. I don't think that machines are that. I don't think machines in New Frontiers are that big of a problem.
So for the person who is worried about worlds, assuming that they weren't or words, assuming they weren't like just being kidding. For anyone else, the reason why it wouldn't become like worlds is that at worlds, machines fell into the same bracket where time spinning which is right now, where it was very powerful, but the thing that it does had like either no or like one answer. Right. And that was why Worlds was so dominant. It was basically there weren't good answers at the time, and so you either played it or you had to play a deck that just wasn't affected by their game plan.
Right, exactly. Yeah. So I'm excited for machines like in New Frontiers. That's not a thing. Frank, what are you? Oh, Ryan, go ahead.
My New Frontiers impression, like, so I think that the two archetypes getting the most support from this set are white and I want to say black, but I think Table Flip by itself is enough to just like make green even stronger, especially because like the Hanzo deck I played in Orlando was like already really good at beating a lot of things, even though it was like designed to be especially good against Time Spinning Witch. And then it's kind of like weakness should be like the aggressive decks like Keurig. But like you have Lord 7 Disciples like kind of hedge that, and then Table Flip is just actually insane. Like I don't even know what red can do against like a 4x Table Flip. And Table Flip is just good against like everything. It's just like this very versatile card because it's got like two different modes, and it's one mode is just like so good at trading things in combat, and you are like a mid-range like grimy creature deck.
Yeah, for sure.
So I think that like green beats red out of the format, and now we have a whole bunch of really, really good white stuff that kind of beats red out of the format. And Keurig. I think that I think Keurig should be dead finally. Bless, thank you. So then blue is this like cool go wide strategy, but like right now I'm looking at the two best decks I'm expecting to see are white and green, and then it's again assuming that we don't have to worry about distortion. But white has Odin's Judgment, and then green has Black Tears. I'm sorry, green has Black Tears for no reason. So like, I'm worried about the idea of a go wide blue deck.
Sure.
I think even black like maybe has some playability because like I expect to see less red. I think the pay life effects of black might actually be pretty good. So like that 3-drop that just says like draw cards is going to be kind of neat. The 2-drop that draws cards is going to be kind of cool, and they're also going to be kind of doing mid-range stuff. But then they also have like this crazy destroy stones, banish your board top end. That I think no idea if it's good, but it might be. So maybe black also sees play.
Early in this format, before I apologize, Frank. Early in this format, before time spinning, which was impressive, there was this like black Brunhild deck that played Jean d'Arc and was like a Jean d'Arc aggro deck. The like aggressive Jean d'Arc deck got a lot of support in this, including like another hit
for sure.
Yeah, there's another really powerful hit for Faith in the Darkness.
Third excellent Faith target.
Yeah, so if Witch is not pressing that Brunhild deck, I think that Brunhild deck is actually really good, and it might not even be Brunhild anymore. Maybe it actually just is Lucifer now. But like somewhere in that world, there's a good deck, and I think that got support too.
Yeah, I've seen some Lucifer decks trying that idea.
A little bit more enticing to me. But Frank, maybe you will listen. What do you think Brunhild like wants to look like?
You're a resident Brunhild guy.
So it's very much going to depend on what the rest of the format shapes up to be, because like the one thing that I have found with Brunhild is that she's of the rulers, she's quite possibly the easiest to build into multiple colors without getting punished. So she can be very adaptive. I mean, it wasn't necessarily perfect, and I didn't have any events to go really like test it out, but like there was a green-white Brunhild deck that could play the answers and the style of play necessary to actually have game against time spinning, which if that's gone, then that deck gets, maybe it's a little too slow or a little too reactive compared to other mid-range decks. The black one is obviously very good at applying early pressure, but also just like never or almost never running out of gas. Like it sort of depends on what you're trying to do. Like I feel like the white one is going to be most powerful if specifically you want to ramp, which is there. Like the ramp package in white is actually like very potent. It's just that you need to be in a format where obviously we have a new good 5-drop, which was actually one of the things that worried to me about the ramp before, was that like before that your best 5-drop was the Angel, but getting that out on turn 3 meant that you were probably searching for a 1-drop if you were playing a rune you just flipped for no value. Right. If that's no longer the case, if instead you're playing Mistletoe, then like say you're ramping out turn 3 Mistletoe, flip over, destroy the target rested J/Resonator, bring back something they've killed, whatever turn 2 play of yours they killed. Like you actually have a reason why playing this something big early matters.
Yeah, for sure.
And so like there is very much, I feel like there's a ramp deck there, and that's the real reason to go mono white.
Yeah.
So quickly,
the white black didn't play Acolyte of the Sun, right?
What?
So
the white black deck didn't play Acolyte of the Sun?
Correct.
Yeah, I didn't think so.
I think the reason I just like being black is because Jean d'Arc is just a broken Force of Will card. Like I just want to like play Faith in the Darkness and John, and then like, anything darkness is great. So
assume that like mono white Brunhild is a playable deck. Mono white Brunhild gets to main deck 4 copies of 1 mana remove target resonator from the game.
Yeah.
So Jean d'Arc feels a lot worse when that's in the format.
Does that card remove? Jeez.
Yeah,
it's removed from game.
It's Heteroclite Excalibur without a downside.
Oh, gross.
Yeah. So like it is actually a clean answer to opposing Jean d'Arcs, which is
it's really good.
Like, making that deck like having
you got me.
Which is good because like
I was expecting more of a fight.
You do want to counterpoint to the Jones.
I didn't realize it removed actually. So
so someone is saying in the chat, just a real quick question. What are our thoughts on an early rotation? And I say no to an early rotation. I don't think it's necessary, but I will preface that by I don't think it's necessary if Distortion gets banned. And I say that because there is a lot of exploratory space that I think can be done with these two clusters together without Distortion in the meta. And like if we just early rotate especially this set, and if we just early rotate and go just to Valhalla only, like that's so much exploration that could have been done, and I think I would much rather enjoy having all those sets to work with. That's just personal vibe.
I also do not think there are enough problems left at this point from Rhea cluster for it to be a more like the only time in the US we've done like a true like early rotation was with rotating out the Alice cluster early, or not, sorry, the Grim cluster early, specifically at the time to like can Guiber decks and stuff. And that was because to rebalance that format, the number of bans that were necessary were intense, and they would also involve a bunch of cards that would have immediately gotten unbanned. Like we would have had like multiple regalia bannings, and then even if some of them, like, you know, say Leviton stays on the ban list after rotation, we suddenly have to unban a bunch of cards because we were just killing a specifically wide series of problems that exist in the format. We haven't run into that at this point with Rhea Cluster. We're pretty much through most of its baggage.
My thing with the early rotation here is that I actually feel like Rhea Cluster as a whole, outside of like a couple outliers, was underwhelming for the most part in terms of power level. So I actually think that the new Valhalla stuff we've seen so far is more powerful than the Rhea Cluster cards. So I think that the cycle, as the format moves on, like the Rhea Cluster stuff isn't really the problem. Like the cards that are going to continue to be banned, because I think we're actually taking care of most of those, especially if we do see the Distortion of Time go. So I think it's going to be really cool to be able to have the Rhea Cluster cards to add flavor to the new Valhalla decks. And then once the cluster actually runs its course and rotates out, that's when the new Valhalla will have its own identity. Sure. I think that if we did rotate early, like the format would be actually pretty stale in 6 months' time.
It's kind of like interesting because I think the decks are very focused on their individual archetypes. So like if you look at the Time Spinning Witch deck, it has almost no Valhalla cards except like Kuga. The Keurig deck has almost no Valhalla cards, and then the Hanzo deck is almost entirely Valhalla cards. I mean, like, it really depends on what kind of archetypes you're looking at. But with all that considered, I still don't think Array rotation is very.
I feel like
nice.
Ryan's Hanzo deck had to be at least 40% Rhea Cluster cards.
I'm sure
it was
like
powerful staples.
There was Viola. You had a bunch of one-drop green instants that you'd pulled.
I guess you had the CL, yeah. I shouldn't say entirely, but it had an awful lot more Valhalla cards than the other ones. But I think that we're still seeing more Rhea cards than Valhalla cards in the format, like more than the 5 times that you might expect, or the 4 times you might expect.
Yeah, especially with the set of the new set. If Distortion no longer oppresses the new decks, I do think that white.
The one thing I will say, because as we've been talking about the spoilers, we've sort of been talking a lot about mid-range deck, because that's definitely where like this set gives a lot of this set standout cards really help mid-range decks.
Oh yeah,
but
for sure.
The one thing I would notice that doesn't mean that necessarily, like, the only reason you have to worry about like it becoming this weird inbred mid-range, like just nothing but that, is if they're all so good that control decks can't stop them. And I really don't think most of these decks are so good that control can't stop them, which is why I don't think you'll necessarily run into like what Ryan was worried about, where like, oh, this blue deck could go wide and looks kind of cool, but it's just going to get trounced by this other mid-range deck. Yeah. That's really only the sort of thing that happens when you get into like a pure mid-range format, because once that happens, you start to just digest down to the best mid-range deck. Mm-hmm. But once you, like, mid-range is one of those, because it's so reactive and so like shifts a lot, it's very hard to have just a best mid-range deck if the format has the other archetypes around it.
Yeah, I would say that while with what we're seeing, Keurig most likely, like, red hyper aggro gets put, especially considering the fact that what's being shown as red is just more mid-rangey stuff. Like, while red hyper aggressive aggro that comes with like Keurig, although Keurig also evolved to kind of be kind of a weird hybrid deck, like, while Keurig might get pushed out of the format, I definitely still think we have aggressive decks, we have go wide decks, we have mid-range decks, mid-range grindy decks, we have control. Like, I think all of those decks still exist. They just don't exist like where we necessarily think they always should. But like, even then, that seems really awesome. So I'm down for it.
Yeah.
So pre-releases this weekend, right?
Oh yeah.
Yes.
So Ryan, it sounds like you're not going to get to have one.
Is this weekend? No, ARG Connecticut's this weekend, so I'm going to that.
Okay, sweet. So every one of us is going to get to go to Force of Will, some kind of event. But I wanted to talk about this. Yeah, I'm super pumped to play this set sealed. I think it's going to be awesome. So I want to talk about, with pre-release coming up, the idea of building a locals, right? So like, I have a lot of stores that I've been seeing trying their hands at a pre-release for the first time. Like, there's a couple stores here in Michigan that have decided to buy a pre-release kit because players have been asking for it, and it's a place where it didn't normally happen. But also, just like, I'm seeing more and more players on the communities and in the chats and on YouTube videos and stuff talking about wanting to try to push this game more, talking about wanting to try to be advocates to grow their locals. I'm seeing the attitude shift more from, oh, my locals is dead, no one is playing it, to, no one plays it at my locals, how do I change that? Like, I'm seeing that trend. I don't know if you guys are as well.
Definitely seen it a little bit.
So what I want to talk about is all 4 of us have had pretty solid success building a locals. Ryan, unfortunately, that's out of your control in terms of the fact that the shop is moving, but that's not your fault. Before that was a solid locals. It had growth.
Yeah.
So I want to talk about what we've all done, our experiences have been in being advocates for the game at the local level, what that looks like to be an advocate for the game, and how that might look different than being a regular player in terms of what our approach is to locals, how we go about communicating about the game, and stuff like that. So I have a lot to share on this front, and I know that Brandon does as well, because he's done a lot of work at his locals. But let's go ahead and start with Frank and Ryan and see kind of how things have gone for you guys.
So I need to preface this with the fact that my locals was initially started by Cody Jennings. And so a lot of the initial groundwork was not handled by me, and he just powered through getting things started. But I can definitely talk about what it means to be someone who is what it means to be a player who's trying to create an environment where your locals can thrive. And one of the most important things, and this is going to require you to eat some losses, is basically you need to be someone who, when people play against you, they had a good time and they want to come back. This means that unfortunately, this sometimes means you're going to have to not play the best deck. If you want to just play the best deck, always 3 or 4-0 your locals week in, week out, you're going to create an environment that's just sort of hostile. I'm definitely not saying you can never just bring something good, try and crush, try and win and just have an exciting evening. But if week in, week out, what's going to happen is that new players or players who are just getting into the game are gonna see you, and they're really gonna go, ugh. And it's not going to be exciting, it's that guy who's really good, this is my chance to try something. They're just gonna be sad. Because they're oh, this isn't going to be fun. I know how this is going to roll out. And then they're going to have to hope their next round is more fun. And for locals, that can be a third or a quarter of their evening. That's a big impact on their night. But even beyond that, it also expands to just be friendly, be nice. I can definitely say that to a certain extent, I've had plenty of people who, even after I've won, have come up to me afterwards. They're really excited. An easy way is simply even if you're doing well or your opponent has something goes wrong, talk to them, show interest in their deck, check out what they're doing. If they ask you questions, just try and be helpful. And even if they're working on something you don't think is necessarily something you would play or something you think will be good in the long run, just be honest and help them help them out. You want to create an experience where they're going to come away from the evening having had fun. And in the long run, this will help you out too, because you'll get more people at your locals. You'll have more people who are the people sitting down across from you are going to be excited to play, and your evening is going to be better too.
Yeah, I would agree.
I think that's a great way to build the locals. That is not at all what I did. We have your way is way better than mine, though. I just try and keep Aaron Miles in check and stop him from bullying people to not want to show up ever again. One time, one guy came and AJ was playing full-fledged Fox and severing wins this man 3 times in one turn. I never saw that guy again. I'm AJ, you can't just do that. You can't just do that to new players. So one week we did try having a casual locals. We tried to the 8 solid people that always come to my locals are 6 people who have gone to Worlds plus 2 people that just always show up because they're friends with us and play Magic with us. So we got them into Forceful. And yeah, we play Forceful now, but whatever. So I did try to have a day where we all brought not real competitive decks, and we did get an extra 2 or 3 people to show up and then hang around a couple more times. But at the end of the day, Aaron Miles brought Arla combo, and I'm I don't care if it hasn't topped anything in 2 formats. You can't just play Arla combo in a locals, Aaron. So moral of the story: if anybody at your locals has won a world championship, just ban them, and then your locals will do a lot better. So that's my advice. Good
to know. Ryan, that means that after this year, you're going to get banned from your store.
Damn it! Well, my store's moving. Not the locals anymore.
This is the we can call this the Stephanie DeMarco method. Just ban
everyone that's good.
Everyone that's good gets banned.
For locals, it's fine. So yeah, our locals is we just take in new players. And we're hey, you want to play this game? It's really fun. They're yeah, I want to play. And we're we're gonna have to show you how to be a god at this game because we're not gonna let you breathe. And that's how we have the 8 people that keep coming back, is we just turn them into these trial by fire, forged in darkness good players. So that's my way of doing it. My local's dead now, so do what Frank Smith did.
Well, your locals is dead because the store is moving. That's
Yeah,
not
the store's moving like an
that's
hour
not that
away.
the,
and
that's
you
not
can't
that the
drive there
that's
anymore.
not that the fact that FOW is dead at
It's
your
more
locals.
dramatic.
It's the fact
if I
that your
just blame
store
Aaron
is
Miles.
gone.
That you're getting caught in the details. It's just more dramatic if I focus on the end result. All right, don't worry about the reasoning behind it.
And
Cause
just,
effect.
I guess,
Causation implies correlation.
just to fight, I guess, my own statement a little bit. I'm definitely not saying that like your local, like every local should only ever be a bunch of casual. No one can play the top tier, like the top decks things. Like it's just that if you, for one, it's a way like understand like the tournament events. We like so let's say this season we had 3 months. Ideally we're gonna have 3 or 4 big events during that season, which means for most of us outside of testing time, we really live in that format for a good 2 real life days worth of time. But your locals happens week in and week out. So if you just play the best decks over time, you're going like no format lives through that for a period of time. And so like you just want like, and not necessarily everyone has to do it at the same time, but like you should occasionally want to spice things up because it makes things more interesting. Like and this will happen even though some of your locals will just keep playing the same deck all the time, but it's also what gets them to adapt and like have more than just like, oh, they keep playing, they keep playing Keurig they keep playing, Keurig versus this mid-range deck and Keurig versus that mid-range deck, and like that's just their life is, or Keurig versus time spinning witch matches all the time. Is like all of a sudden they have to like adapt a little bit, and like it makes things more interesting for them as well. Like it just makes it better for everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah, I what was my brain about to say? Nope, come back to me. Brandon, go.
Okay, so I have so many suggestions for this. So the first and absolute best one, and you guys will notice that this is just constantly the best thing you can do, but play limited. Like you can absolutely spike the fuck out of your limited event, and your deck can only be so degenerate, so it's not like you'll like really lock someone out of the game with a limited deck. So you get to like be the best player you possibly can. You get to put more money into your locals, you get to get more packs opened in your store so that more cards are circulating in your community. Limited is just the answer to every problem anyone's ever had, and it should be the only format.
Unless you're
anyway.
a content producer, unless you're a content producer who uses locals to record for the channel, at which point in time you can't do that.
Record limited. Channel
no one watches it.
Limited,
no one watches it.
You are full of it. Channel
no one
Fireballs,
watches.
Like,
no one watches limited
popular
content on my
video.
channel. No one watches limited content on my channel.
I will refresh YouTube all day.
Here's what's gonna happen. Brandon, you have a job now for my channel. Go out, get a camera, record limited. I will put any limited content that you produce on the channel. I will put all of it on the channel.
You heard it first here, folks. We are going to be sending some limited videos to Jeremy. All right, the second thing you can do is empty your wallet and dump money into your locals. So buying decks and entries for other people. Like, I know this isn't something that everyone can do, but like if you want your locals to thrive, don't buy your boxes online. Don't buy from your locals, get trades going in your community, be generous with what you give away. When new players show up to play Force of Will, I usually just give them a deck. Like I'll just go through my collection, make something for them with them, ask them what they want to do, and then just give them cards, and that keeps them coming back because it's a low cost for them. And so, and this game is generally pretty cheap, but there is like at least a $40 to $50 entry for the starter deck, in plus like playables if you want to play. And so like just getting rid of that for someone can be nice. I know that that's not something that everyone can do, but like if you can afford to at least like give up some of your uncommons and commons from your box that you don't use, like that can be very helpful. What you said about not playing the best deck is correct. I think that also extends to not playing the decks that are not fun to play against. So like last week at Locals, I played Keurig, and it's a deck that tops. It's a good deck, but people have fun playing against it because it's an aggro deck and you kind of know what's going on. What deck is not fun is time spinning, which my buddy Andrew Vatlin, he tops some events sometimes. He was topped Masters. He played Ryan's Quick-Cast Hanzo deck at Locals. Like clearly that deck won a GP. Like we can play decks that top GPs. We just don't play time spinning, which we don't play IU. We don't play decks that are like have some degeneracy to them that is not fun to play against. Like doesn't let our opponent play cards. Sure. And we don't play.
You'll see. Speaking of that Hanzo list, the feature match this week is that Hanzo list. And Ryan, you've talked about before how that deck was kind of like purpose to be a meme. Like that deck is actually not unbeatable by any stretch of imagination, and you're gonna see it in action this Wednesday. So like what Brandon is saying about yes, that deck topped a GP, but it's not degenerate. Like absolutely true, absolutely true. It won a GP, but not degenerate.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely true.
I didn't play Sherry and IU. I don't even think IU's a good deck, but it's very degenerate to play against. Like, new players hate playing against IU because it's like, oh, flip, you're dead. Like, okay, sorry. Like, that was a great game. You had no interaction. Sorry. And it's like, you want to talk a lot during your games. I know some people don't like that, but like most people in general like to have an open communication with other people. I know Aaron specifically tells me he wants me to never speak to him, but like most people,
the problem I have at my locals.
Most people enjoy that kind of communication. The other thing you can do is let your opponent take things back. When you play against me at locals, you can do whatever you want. Like, literally, you can diabolic tutor on your turn if you want. Like, I literally just don't even care. And I think that that's generally the best way to approach it. Is like, this is not a competitive scene. You are here to have fun. You are here to build a community, and you are here to enjoy your time with these people that share a hobby. And I think if you approach it that way, the locals will just follow.
Yeah, absolutely.
I would also like to say, even if you're like, you want to play like a little more straight up and you're the type who wants to do like a little bit less, like you don't want to let your opponents take back everything, you should at least be adaptable to the fact that because not everyone at your locals will know all of the cards, they will sometimes make a play going like, oh, I would like to do this, and realize they just like can't or can't possibly work. Have at least the flexibility for someone who doesn't know the card to do that take back. Because if you just like force them into a scenario where they're like, oh, they goofed, and then they're just like left there feeling like that, like because they didn't know what a card did, they've thrown away the game, you will absolutely destroy someone's night.
I played a game against Sherry at local, not Sherry, Shayla last 2 days ago at locals, and I told them about their thunder counter every single turn. Like, they just didn't put thunder counters on their Shayla. Just end of every turn, I was like, put a thunder counter on your Shayla. Like, you want to do that kind of thing for people.
Yeah, absolutely. So I agree with all of those statements, and I also think that, like, so I always bring, and let me say this, as a person who has done competitive play, I think that you can still have the competitive side of the coin. Like, my locals, because I've put in the work in doing all of that groundwork and playing the fun stuff, playing the things that give my opponent a good time, plays those things like that, I also talk with all of my locals about like what upcoming events are, and I think that's something that you can be as an advocate, is like talk about the competitive scene with
Good
people,
idea.
like help them know what the events that are coming up and stuff. So because I've laid that foundation, like back when I was playing competitively trying to get my invite, like 2 weeks before a Grand Prix, like everybody at my locals knew, like 2 weeks before an event, that Jeremy said he was going to, Jeremy's going to bring something that's hard to beat. Like, he's going to bring something competitive. But, like, because I had put in that groundwork and that was just something that I did on occasion and not all the time, no one at my locals batted an eye about that. Like, so, like, you can still bring, to get those reps in, like, you can still bring those competitive decks as a competitive player, but I think that comes second to being an advocate. But I think if you put in that hard work as an advocate, then like you create a space where you can still get those reps in competitively, which I think is important for people to recognize. Because sometimes I've had people who are competitive that go, but like then my locals will never, like I'll never be allowed to bring something that's like top tier to be able to practice before an event. And I'm like, that's not true at all. Like, if you build a relationship with your locals, like Brandon said, it's there to have fun and build community. If the community is there and you are very straightforward and honest about that portion of your life inside of Force of Will, the community usually responds positively. So like, be communicating about that. Like, super, super important. So to go to, I think, something that we're actually doing something this week that I think has been really successful at our locals. We are running an open house, a Force of Will open house. So Wednesday, at the same time that we do our normal tournament, we are just going to put out a ton of Force of Will decorations. I have like a crap ton of banners and bags and like double-sided like 2-person playmats and like all kinds of stuff that I bring to the table with my massive FOW swag collection. And we're going to decorate the crap out of the store with FOW. I have a bunch of different decks that are built that are basically just souped up structure decks. It's been advertised on our Facebook page. People have been posting and everything else. And it's just show up, learn how to play Force of Will, have a good time, maybe watch some people play what a tournament looks like, because you don't necessarily know what that might look like, but just play. You get a promo, usually, or more, just for showing up and hanging out. And then you get $5 off your pre-release. Like, just for coming.
Hey.
So, like,
There you go.
And, like, so that, usually we do one of those right before any set drops. And it's like, the store pretty much loses no money because they get provided promos. And, like, they get people to come to the pre-release. And, like, they don't mind taking the $5 hit because usually it means that they'll get a lot more people to come to pre-release. And the other cool thing is our store does, if you are a brand new player coming to the FAO open house, you get $5 off. But if you're a current player and you bring someone new to the FAO pre-release and they take a demo, you also get $5 off your pre-release. So there's an incentive for you to start bringing more people. So that I think is something that people can really do. I see someone in the comments like Gray Grumbler, I can talk, saying they just had a FAO open house at your locals yesterday. Like, it costs no money. All of us have some kind of FAO swag that we can throw out, whether that be a playmat that we be able to just like maybe we don't normally play on that has Force artwork. We all usually have collections, so you can build some really simple to play decks, and you just teach people. Like, you just sit and teach and hang out, and it's a lot of fun because again, you're not playing to win, you're playing to teach people, and you're playing the long game. Like, I can't stress enough, being an advocate for the game, you are playing the long game. So just like, sure, you might not walk away having trashed everybody, but like in the long term, you may have gained 3 new players. Seems like a pretty good value bump to me. Like, and then
those 3 players keep coming back, and then you get to beat them at every locals when they do start getting serious, and then you get like to beat them up and take their lunch money down the road. So it really is worth it for you.
Exactly.
As a competitive player.
Oh, and if you get those locals, once they do start coming back, like you don't necessarily be like, okay, you got to come with us the next one, but like at least like encourage them to try out going to like some bigger event. Like, even if it's not like, like, oh, go all the way to, you got to come with us to Orlando. This is from the reference point of someone who's in the Midwest. You got to come with us all the way to Orlando for a GP. It could just be like, okay, like come with us to St. Louis in a couple of weeks where there's going to be an ARG or some other, or like we took a few people in a car when like there was a store down in southern Missouri that was doing like a win-a banner that ended up being like a 30-40 person event. Like, encourage them to go with you, because it's also how you like it enriches your and their game experience, and it gets them more invested.
Yep.
So we got a car going up
to someone else's locals better, and then they'll come back to yours at some point, and it all makes its way around.
To address Liz T's comment, she says, when you have open house, you mean like demo day? How do you show someone the game by keeping it simple but fun? You build structure decks. What if you don't have starters at your locals? Any options? So I'll quickly go through those questions. Open house being a demo day, yes. We have found, though, that we have more success getting people to come into the store when we call it an open house than a demo day. Weirdly enough, because an open house is just like, hey, come check it out, see what it looks like. As a demo day is like, come learn how to play it. So there's maybe a little bit more of a commitment. Weirdly enough, psychologically, that actually has had an impact on the number of people we've had to come. Just so you could call it a demo day if it works better for your space. Second question, how do you show someone the game by keeping it simple but fun? Usually what I do is I go, what is the core concept of this color? How do I build a deck that shows off that and isn't oppressive? Okay.
There's a good suggestion in the chat by Whoflung128. It says Pauper is a good format. One thing that I did to like just try and like teach people that I knew how to play the game, and I just went through my bulk commons. I just built a monocolor deck in every color of like literal garbage cards that I was never going to care about. And just like, here you go. And you play this white deck, I'll play this red deck. And then there's nothing fancy happening. You're just like bashing mid-range resonators into each other. But it still like demonstrates the concepts and then is like still a fun game to play because Forcible is fucking magical. So
yeah, when I try to build demo decks, I try to cover the following things. I try to cover the core concept of the color. And I do that by including resonators, normal chance, quick cast chance, and at least some kind of addition. And then now that we have runes, I'll include the runes because I want to show that off. And I always try to throw in a super rare into every demo deck that I play. And the reason why I do that is I don't do like the stupid broken super rares that we've gotten to know, but like people like to see, oh, cool, so there are cards that have a lot of strength to them. There are super rares. There are things that I might not get. If you have a
black player trying out the game, they want to slam a Lucifer at least once in that hour.
Yeah, like they want to do stuff like that. And the other thing is, too, the beauty of it, and I know a lot of people, weirdly enough, as much as it was a meme, the Arcana of War list, like, those draft rulers, sure, they might not be competitively viable, but honestly, when you're starting off the game, you could just build freaking Arcana decks. Like I would play it against Josh Patton. He challenged me before he realized that you guys' Arcana list was a total meme. He said he built an Arcana of War list and he wanted to clash them back to back to see which one was better. He built a green-red Swiftness Ataraktia deck that was basically Chamimi Zoo with Arcana of War. And like it used the filter greens instead of using them for lowrights like you guys did with machines. It used the filters to make Ataraktia playable. But like that's a deck that you played without having the real ruler. Like you can actually still build decks in Force of Will without having the actual unique ruler just to start getting your hands on playing the game. So like those limited rulers come in every box and every pre-release kit comes with a crap ton of them. So like
yep.
And Arcana of War is the best role in the game. So
I have one thing to say about like how I build decks for teaching people. But first, I want to make one note. Do be careful with newer players about using like Jeremy was describing that red-green deck, and he immediately went like it's like red-green Chamimi Zoo. Do be careful about getting too dense with the TCG code words.
Sure.
Like,
That's
if it starts to feel too much to someone who's just starting out, like there's a language they don't understand, you will scare people off. So like roll them into that slowly, because the whole point of like calling something a zoo deck is that the idea is that we all understand what a zoo deck is, and so by saying it, you're just cutting out time. If instead you just make someone feel like they're not there, you've used your words poorly, and now they don't want to come back.
Yeah, for sure.
Find out what games they played before, and then like
that's a big one. That's huge.
If it's a Magic player, yeah, you play these creatures. You tap your general, you get a land. If it's a Yu-Gi-Oh player, it's like, all right, I'm sorry, first of all, but I'm glad you come to our support group, and then you get like that.
Yeah.
But
so Liz,
I was going to say, like, I do something sort of similar whenever I'm teaching someone, is that I will generally build it off of a starter deck, or if it's not a starter deck ruler, I'll build it something akin to a starter deck with like 2 or 3 extra cards mixed in, like. When I was playing the like I had a cousin who wanted to learn, so I brought over pandas and mermaids to teach him out. But like I had splashed in, like I'm trying to remember what exactly I splashed into the mermaids deck. Oh, the Search a Mermaid card. Like I splashed that one, and then one like better chant from the main set, and then pandas I just like splashed in like a rose quartz and something else. And so like not only do you give them like a little like better deck to try out, but then if they do like one of the ones you're playing and they go get it, they can now see things they can build towards. It's also important to build them to where when they're against each other, both decks have a good shot of winning. Like ideally for demo decks, you want it to feel like both decks could win half the time, and that sometimes means you're going to have to soup up one less than the others, which is like the one reason why I'm always leery of just straight using precons right out of the box, is that like some of them are like well balanced to play against each other, and then sometimes they aren't, just because they have to serve multiple purposes.
So the other thing that's super important to know, I'll say this in one, I think it's a policy that people just need to use as the person doing the teaching, and 2 is just a personal preference outside of a teaching day. So 1 is that if you have a chance when you're playing a teaching game, play a deck that is designed to allow your opponent to explore the game as much as possible, like to try out the cards, to play things, and that means making plays that don't make sense, like on your end. For instance, for this demo open house we're doing this week, I have 5 decks built, 1 for each color, and the deck that I will be playing is Brandan Bremont's Mill You to Death Time Spinning Witch deck.
What a fun deck.
So that deck, so here's the reason why I actually love that deck for doing demos. 1, you don't actually have to use Distortion of Time other than to use it as a filter card, which is cool. 2, that deck's whole win con is to just like survive until it flips. It's not actually trying to kill your opponent, which means that you can actually just actively choose to let your opponent make plays and try out their deck. You're not actually trying to win. You're not actually trying to kill them. And the other thing is, Rachel lets you shift and shape what they're going to see next, in the sense that you can be like, oh, I really want them to try this card. So if you stick a Rachel, you could be like, let me put that on top of your deck so that I know what your draw is. Because honestly, one of the things that's happened in the first demo decks is the first demo decks were set up that we actually stacked your deck. So Rachel is a way to safely do that without oppressing your opponent in the middle of the game because you're watching what they're playing and you know what the deck they're building is. So I can go, oh, wait, there's this card in this deck I really want them to try, or this would be something cool for them to try in this moment. Sticker Rachel. Oh, there it is. I can stack it on top. Like, you can
I don't know if
actually
this goes without saying, but you should also probably lose in the games that you're teaching someone else.
Absolutely.
Like,
It's
it's
100%
generally,
you should lose.
I will take it a step further. In most demo games, if this is someone's first time playing the game, do not finish the game.
Oh yeah.
Play to a point where you can see that they've gotten a clear grasp of what's going on. But in general, even if it's like 2 well-balanced decks, there will generally be 1 to 3 awkward turns at the end where it will eat up a decent amount of time with you two playing, but it's not really like fun or interactive time because it's just progressing towards an inevitable end. Once you feel like they're comfortable, just end it, and if they still want to play, offer to play again, because that also means they get to play a game where now they understand everything and are starting it'll change the whole thing, because for them now than rather having this random mulligan of oh, I shipped this one so that I had the numbers 1, 2, and 3 over here in my hand, and now this time instead they're like, oh, I kind of understand how this goes. I should actually keep this one this time, but still ship this one. And their second game will feel more satisfying because they know enough of the rules to feel like they're playing the game correctly.
Yep. And then here's
this is especially important if you are teaching a lot of people. If you're having a demo day, it is also the case that you're going to have limited staff. And so if you play too long with one person, that also means there are other people who are not engaged around you. And that's one I just picked up from working Gen Con multiple years in a row.
Yeah, and
Glorian chess. You just set up 4 tables around you and then you play 4 games at once. You sit in the middle of the chair.
Makes an interesting
comment. I really want to see Ryan doing this, just spinning in a chair, your turn, your turn, your turn.
I'm not going to win, though.
Someone's saying, make sure that they win.
Can you do a slow loop for me?
Glorian fan saying, make sure to let them win, but don't tell them that you let them win or make it look like you're holding back.
Don't be rude.
There's etiquette to it. But this is the second thing that's just a personal preference outside of a teaching day. So my locals does a pack per win. And so say I go 3-0, I open up 3 packs, I look at what the full arts are, and if I have to keep any of those, and then I go, cool, who is the newest player here? And I hand them everything that I just opened. Now,
it's a good way to get rid of bulk.
One, it serves 2 purposes. Wrong. 1, great way to get rid of bulk, and 2, every time I've done that to a new player, they always look at me like, wait, what? Because usually they're probably only getting 1 extra pack, maybe if they happen to win a game. And it's actually something that, again, it's that generosity, that building community that you're showing. You're not in it to win. You're not in it to spike people. You want to just enjoy the game. And actually giving people, as though it's simple as it seems, to give them commons, uncommons, base rares, that helps people.
This is doubly true if they happen to come from Magic and they haven't quite grasped how much cheaper this game is than Magic. 1 whole pack of value is whoa, my goodness, you just gave me a whole pack here. Magic players will eat that up too.
Every Magic draft I've ever been to, I'll play the draft and then I'll be like, all right, I would like to buy back earlier in my career it was I would like to buy Yu-Gi-Oh packs with my store credit, and now I would like to buy Force Soul packs with my store credit. I just give my draft deck to anybody else in the room because I just don't want Magic cards. I just want to play the game every once in a while.
Yeah, I always usually any drafts we draft once a month at the store. Usually I'll be like, okay, cool, this is a full art super rare that I still needed for my collection. Who's the newest person? Here, have all the cards that I drafted.
And everything else is all you.
There you go.
This is my 4 single-dollar bills that I've earned in my professional Forceful playing career. This is what you get for being a good player.
Obviously, some of this is easier if you're a little more if you have more money. But even if you don't even if you can't spend quite as much as often, it is also important to just buy stuff from your locals every so often. And even if you go a stretch where you just don't have anything new you're looking for, just occasionally do so, because you supporting them is how they continue to have a place for you to play.
My locals is supported by the fact that my wife is addicted to buying dice. So last time I went, I spent $40 on dice, boys.
I think I spent $40 on dice in my career.
That was 1 trip.
Hold up, but I like nice dice.
Yeah.
Jeremy, did she make you buy one of these?
No, she did not. But she has well over.
Jeremy, I'm going to send your wife a picture of this. It's just full of nice D&D dice.
Don't do that. She has over 3,000 dice, boys. It's a problem.
Wow.
That I don't think I have 3,000 of anything. So, alrighty.
There you go.
Is it time for
It's time for some
about time.
games.
Did we have a game queued up for tonight? Because I actually have a fun question if no one has a good game idea.
Well, we have the drawing game, which seems to be a fan favorite. But I don't
Yeah,
know
we're
if-
definitely we're quickly running out of unique words for force
Yeah,
of will,
that's the
but
problem.
we might
I'll
be
make
able
a
to
new list for
squeeze
next
another.
week.
Right. Well, I like literally sat down and was like, all right, I'm gonna come up with like 50 more words, and I just could not do it. There are just not.
So
that
let's
many
see. I guess we
forcible
can
words.
see. We can either ask the question. So I'll give the chat here. I'll give them a minute to say, if they want us to do the drawing game
If-
again, or if they want us to simply take Frank's fun question.
If we do
Locals.
the drawing game, we all have to commit to like picking words that we haven't done before. If we see
Sure,
them,
absolutely.
What is Frank's question? Do we get to know beforehand? Or...
Oh, sure. The question is simply because it's holiday themed. The question is simply you have to pick one force of will character, which is your crazy aunt or uncle. Who and why?
Feet sing.
Coming
Want to be your
coming
crazy
over
aunt-
specifically in the context of like this is a crazy aunt or uncle visiting for the holidays. Which force of will character do you pick and why?
You picked feasting right off the bat, you son of a gun.
Oh, free. Absolutely free. Definitely feet
That is absolutely free. Feasting is nuts.
broken.
Crazy aunt or uncle.
Feet sing's already my crazy aunt. I don't know what you guys are talking about.
Why? So why feasting while I think of my own? Jeez.
Oh, why feet sing? I thought it was obvious. She's clearly already a crazy aunt, and that would just be fun. She just seems like a chill person. Probably gets a lot of gifts for people. Clearly takes care of Kaguya and Zero like at the same time. So like she's already got that like motherly nature kind of thing. So she's probably very good at gifting things. The list goes on. It's obvious.
Sure.
You guys will never top this.
I gotta look at cards. Hold up. Someone else go.
I do Blazer.
My boy.
You got the crazy covered.
I would bring. Let's see, what era of Blazer would I bring?
No,
The
all
legendary
same
thief.
character.
Legendary thief.
Yeah, I would bring Vice Leader of the Chivalrous Thieves Blazer.
He steals you the best presents.
The best. And he's constantly drinking and complaining about his sister.
Perfect.
There we go.
Oh wait, hold on. If you choose Blazer, do you also get Farisha as another
Yeah.
aunt? Oh my god.
I got them
broken.
both. Woo!
Ah, the
Winner.
twofer. The twofer. That means I also get Zero as an aunt though, and Kaguya
Yeah,
as a
but she'd be
cousin.
boring.
Yeah, but Kaguya as a cousin?
Yeah, that's not too bad.
I think I gotta go with Hamlin as a crazy uncle. Like, this man just wanders around in a trench coat with a weird hat. And one of his like flavor cards, I think, is actually like the insane Dark Hatter. So
Nice.
this man just looks like he just like shows up at like a Christmas party and is like, "Hey kids, you want some like cookies from my like travel?" I don't know. I don't have a crazy uncle for reference. So this
Okay.
There you go.
Since we were going to do Scribblio, which was going to last a lot longer, and Frank's question didn't last very long, can I do another crackback question? 'Cause I have another good one.
I need
Frank
to
gets
give
give his
an
answer.
Oh, my bad.
So,
Lay it on me, Frank.
Absolutely.
I'm gonna take Gil because the current Gil is like the stable, like he's gone through the whole hero journey, saved the world and stuff, but also he
He's been
had
the
this
rehab.
crazy punk rock phase where he got drunk and stuff in his 20s as Gil Alhamat. So like you know that he has cool stories and then like he can like tell you interesting stuff and teach you cool things, but he's also not like the uncle who is still at like 50, like showing up drunk with like $5 presents.
That's the uncle I aspire to be.
That's fair.
It's the
Then
uncle
what's
I
your
am.
second question?
Mine's a lot less fun. It's a lot more practical. What's your dream band list this Saturday?
Ooh, dream band list.
You're in charge. What's the band list?
So I think we can all agree Distortion of Time.
No, I want
we?
Distortion of Time to stay. I had a long
I would get
argument
rid
with
of
my
Spirit.
brother.
I honestly would get rid of Spirit Meditation.
Spirit Meditation, the card that searches your deck for any chant.
No, sorry,
Forest.
Forest Meditation. Whatever.
Got him.
Got him. I would get
I
rid
think
of
that card's
Distortion. I would get rid of
Spirit
Distortion of
Distortion.
Time. I would get rid of Distortion of Time and Forest Meditation.
Okay.
I don't want to get rid of Fortification because I like my green deck being broken. I want to get rid of Mosasaurus because I think if you leave Distortion of Time and you get rid of Mosasaurus, like the deck actually like it still has that identity of being a like stasis like block deck, but like the Mosasaurus problem is the one that you go, it's the Distortion Moza combo that I think is what's like really, really impressive about that deck. Like
Sure.
the diversity deck that like just has Distortion of Time is like actually super easy to beat, even though they have double Distortion. Like you can even beat that deck with Brunhild, and it's like not a big deal. But the fact that the green version of the deck just goes like pre-untapped Distortion and Slam a Moza, and you're locked for 2 turns, and I have a 15/10 is just like super, super obnoxious. And I think like if you ban Mosasaurus, like there's probably still going to be a tier 1 Time Spinning Witch deck, but I think if you ban Distortion of Time, like Time Spinning Witch has a lot more problems to actually be competitively viable. So I think the deck will exist more interestingly and less format defining if you ban Mosasaurus and not Distortion of Time.
I could see that for sure.
I just think there's so much outrage that they just might ban Distortion of Time anyway.
Sure.
And yeah, don't ban Force Meditation because I really like drawing cards.
Yeah, stop.
Like,
is Spirit Meditation? If Spirit Stone still exists, Force Meditation needs to go. Like,
yeah.
Like there was times. So I would say this: there were times against that Lucifer deck, and you'll see it in the feature match on Wednesday. There were times where my hand was solid. Like my hand was like 5 cards, like really good.
Yep.
And I was like, whoa, wait again. I'm against a black deck, and they're tapped out, and I have 2 Spirit Stones. Yeah, okay. Draw 3 more cards. And I was just like, and now I can't lose. Like, it was literally just like, well, game's over. I absolutely think that, like, I think that if Spirit Stone still exists, then, like, a Forest Meditation ban would be completely justified.
I feel like you just ban Spirit Stone then instead of Forest Meditation because because black is getting so much like stone destruction. Like I actually want green to still have Spirit or Forest Meditation, so like get back stones if like that actually becomes.
But it's my dream list, so
Spirit Stone's broken. It just says 0 mana draw a card. So
my Spirit Stone is broken.
It's my dream list.
Since we had dual stones.
It's my dream list. Shut up.
Your dream list.
Frank, your dream list.
I think Mosasaurus could be interesting and might be enough, but I think that at this point it's risky enough that I would not go there. So I would go with a Distortion ban, but I do like the idea of a Spirit Stone to like tamp down the make sure that green decks are appropriately balanced in all of this. And like maybe I'm being like I was gonna say I would almost pick like 1 card from Keurig to get rid of, but like I almost feel like I might just be being too hard on that deck.
Like I agree with you.
I would honestly pick the Pathway part.
I just think that Keurig is going to be clapped hard enough by what the format is shaping up to be because like
that's why I'm tentative on it, and also why I picked something as like middling as Pathway part, but it's very specifically like a Keurig card. It's also like Keurig's only thing that's not really like toughness dependent. Whereas like, you know, like sort of like everything else, Keurig has to care about how big the battlefield is, which is where red sort of traditionally is with its removal. And Pathway part is just sort of like their fallback. It's not their most powerful card. Like the most powerful card to kill for them would be Ground and Air Supremacy, but I just don't think it needs to be hit that hard.
You just want to make sure Shayla's unplayable. I understand.
Shayla's
the real reason.
Shayla is just fan playable. She always has been. Like I've played Shayla. I've had fun. I played a goofy Bant Shayla list right before rotation, and it was a blast. But like, it's just like it's not where she's at.
Brandon,
I have a question.
Hold on. We gotta get Brandon's. Brandon's ban list.
I just enjoy saying things that I know are gonna like come off as ridiculous.
All right.
My ban list would be Distortion of Time, Spirit Stone, Miscalculation, Piggy, Howell's Great Hero Pig, and Resuscitating Will.
5 cards.
I hit all 5 of those.
I could see Resuscitating Will.
I can see Resuscitating Will going that up
a little bit.
I like
that.
I want to stay around, but I.
All right, so I can do every single one of these. Ready? Distortion of Time, horrifically unfun for new players to play against. Resuscitating Will makes AU ridiculously unfun for new players to play against. Miscalculation makes the new players deck that they just brought to locals really awful to play against because it's like, wow, that's a ridiculous answer. Piggy is absolutely impossible to interact with. It's got a 7 toughness. It makes the Keurig decks go over the top when you think you've stabilized against them, and is very unfun for new players to play against. And Spirit Stone makes this Force Meditation thing too broken, and I think that with all those other things banned, the green deck would be too good, so I need to hit something in green, so Spirit Stone hits Force Meditation.
There you go. Well done.
Piggy is also the big enabler for them doing Dragon or Swifty Welser damage, which is a way to just like get games that feel like cheats to new players.
IU herself won't be banned. She was the judge.
I want Force of Will. If Jeff is listening to this right now, what I want you to do for every single set going forward is I want you to look at every single card, and I want you to say, is this a fun new experience for a player? And if it isn't, it's gone. And that like needs to be how they think about every set for the like near future.
Ryan, you
I
had a
think this
question.
calculation will eventually be. We're gonna find that out probably like next format, and we're not all on the same page yet. But I agree with that. My question is, none of you said Lorite, and that's been the fucking meme for like 6 months.
I think
Lorites.
that,
What happened? What happened?
I think there's a lot of stuff that's being printed out in this new set that every single time I look at it, I go, yeah, Lorite stops this initially, but then doesn't stop it forever. Like, there's a lot of stuff that's still. There's a lot of stuff that I think has like multiple effects or multiple stages to it that I think Lorite isn't like the be-all end-all stopper for these things anymore.
I've actually thought of that, and I've considered that too. Lorite's biggest weakness is mid-range decks, which is the best thing for new players to play against.
Yep.
So like if people are just slamming like on curve 1 drop, on curve 2 drop, on curve 3 drop, then Lorite looks really embarrassing. And that's the exact deck that I want to exist more than it ever has in Force of Will. So
Yep.
Lorite gets to stay.
And that's why all of the stuff that's coming out right now makes me like really excited. Like
Oh yeah,
all of the super rares have at least 2 effects, right?
yeah, something like that.
Probably.
Yeah, Gloria
Most of
fan,
them.
you're absolutely right. Lorite sucks. It's a terrible card, but like it also encourages what I want to see in the format right now. So that's why I didn't ban it.
And then this is a quick question from CCG Assistant Analyst to wrap us up. So what card would you want to see a functional reprint? I'll tell you right now, Glimpse of Kaguya. Anyway, moving on. Frank,
All right,
what's
I've
a
done
card
this before.
what
Fucking
We did
Bremont
this-
said
we did this
space
one
time
before.
anomaly and got like
Space
10
time
billion
anomaly.
votes from the
Oh, that's true.
community.
We did
I'm
this
gonna
as
be
a
honest,
con.
my
Yeah.
answer
No run
hasn't
backs.
even changed from the answer I gave last time. It's still
Mine
the shit
has.
green-blue Priscia. Card is
Blue-
amazing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Can I just say
My-
all 10 dual stones?
My answer last time was Robo the Fire Rat, but having played Wanda this weekend, can I say Gretel? Is that allowed? Can we?
Stop. Get
No, it
out.
would probably be. I don't know. Like I'm trying to think of the deck I played, and it was basically it's the deck I played in New Frontiers, but in Wandering. Like, Class G's tank. There you go.
Yeah,
Ooh,
bring it
I
back.
love
Yeah,
Class
I
G's
love
tank.
Clash G's tanks
Class
come
G's
back.
Or
So there
White
you have
Arthur.
it, guys.
Oh my God, White Arthur.
We didn't talk really about spoilers, so I would like to ask each of you. No explanation, no nothing. You just give the name of the card, nothing else. What's your favorite card that's been spoiled since we were gone?
No explanation or anything?
Yep, you just say the name and that's it. And then Jeremy does his wrap up.
All right. And the community has to fight
The
about it.
3-drop mermaid that gives mermaids +4/-2.
Guinevere.
Anite or something?
Sure.
Guinevere. for
God,
me.
you Frank, what's yours?
Mistletoe, the pious
Yeah,
sword
of course
saint.
it was Mistletoe. How did
Obviously.
you not guess
Yeah.
that?
All right, I'm torn. It's either the 1 mana removal rune, Brunhild Master rune, or it's the 0, I think, mana or 1 colorless mana fire pump rune.
Yeah, that's a pretty sweet card.
That
And
rune
it's only
is
Divinity
interesting
1.
to me.
It's only Divinity
Yeah,
1.
that rune.
So
I'm
Can I
very
change
intrigued
mine
by
to
that.
table flip? I thought Ryan was going to be table flip, but if he's
That
not,
was-
It-
that
he
before
said
we
he said
went on break.
since yeah
since we've been gone. So
yeah.
Oh, my
Otherwise-
bad. Okay.
Otherwise, immediately table flip.
All right.
And with
Yeah.
that, thank you guys so much. It has been wonderful getting back together with you guys to be
We
able to
did it.
talk. We are going to be back every single week, as always. Next week, we'll have had pre-releases and ARGs and all kinds of stuff, so we'll have a bunch of new stuff to talk about. We'll have the full spoiler list. Looking forward to it. Thank you guys so much in
We'll
the
know
chat
what the
for
new
joining us.
chase cards are.
Yeah, we'll know what the new secrets are, potentially. So thank you guys so much for joining us in the chat. If you like what we do on the channel here, please consider supporting us. You can join us on Patreon or down below that way. There should be a join button. You can join for $5 a month. Super supportive.
You
of
get
the
cool
channel.
emotes.
You get cool emotes. You get access
I
to
use, like,
submitting channels, profiles here on the channel to be featured with your name, all that kind of good stuff. It's just $5 a month, and it helps us make even better content. Thank you guys so much. And as always, this has been Jeremy Franklin. I've been joined by Ryan Miles, Brandan Bremont,
Happy 2019.
and Frank Klosser.
Hope everyone had a happy holidays.
And we'll see you guys next time. Class dismissed.
Ooh, good tagline.